Hey guys, we're Graham, Tim, Malcolm from Co-Partners, just giving you an update on day one of Jenkins World here in San Francisco. You'll have to forgive us, I think we're all pretty jet-lagged and over-caffeinated, so hopefully we can keep it together through this quick update on what we've seen today. So it's been a big day. Started off with the keynotes. I think from my point of view, I'll talk about some sessions in a second, but probably one of the best things I saw today, I thought, was the little sneak peek we saw of the new, or the coming CloudBees product called DevOps. There's a bunch of products in there, but we saw a little bit of one called DevOps Deliver, I think it was, or Delivery.
Delivery, yeah.
Yeah. We didn't see very much of it. But a few things that popped out is number one, this is basically about seems to be about giving you a higher level view of what's going on, not just in Jenkins, but I think the plan is across a whole bunch of different DevOps tools. And the piece that we saw was a really cool sort of application level view of all the different modules and the flow of, in this case, Jira issues. Through those modules, as the pipelines were running, you'd see issues move from one module to the next. As pipelines failed, showing you that would highlight on the view. You could see where bottlenecks were. You could see where a particular issue. You could filter and see where a particular issue was up to. Sort of as it unfolded, I was immediately thinking that A, I needed it, and B, I knew a bunch of customers who needed exactly that view. So that sort of started the day off pretty well for me, I thought, just in terms of what was coming. And I thought the other really cool thing about it is that this was not, or the plan is that this will not be specific to Jenkins Enterprise, the commercial version of Jenkins. This will apply to everything, including open source. It'll work with open source Jenkins. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be open sourced. No, but it will talk to your open source Jenkins and give you that level.
The plan was it'll be a product in its own right.
Yeah, it's not part of Jenkins, but obviously I think Jenkins is one of the major tools that it's going to pull data from.
Yeah, and it was definitely the kind of view a CIO is going to absolutely want to see in his organisation, to see exactly where the bottlenecks are and what's actually happening with the development environment. Yeah.
And even just as part of it, like in the lead up to that, they showed sort of extending that, I can't remember how they referred to it as, I think it was the data model of Jenkins to, Jenkins currently you have users and pipelines, and that's almost it, but adding sort of this, making it aware of teams and also applications, and that adding applications as a first-class entity to Jenkins, I thought was really cool as well, so that you could pull together different, not just I've got this whole bunch of standalone pipelines, but being able to say all of these pipelines together, aggregate to being this application that we're delivering, and so being able to view things at that application level, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So what about you guys?
So I tried to follow a theme today, which was about scripting your environment and scripting your builds.
Mm-hmm.
So extending those scripts and being able to reuse code, but also automating your automation. And there was a bunch of tracks that actually followed that through. So one of which was being able to write pipe scripts that are reusable, like functions, and how to apply different levels of permissions to those. So you might have a corporate script that does X, Y, Z, and then only certain people can edit that particular script.
Mm-hmm.
How to store those scripts either in source control, which obviously was emphasised. Everything should be in source control. But it's now following this whole theme of your entire process now should be completely repeatable and completely scripted, so that you don't go through some web UI and click some buttons and set up your environment, your builds through configuration of a tool. You really need to have a script that's actually source controlled, part of your project itself, that actually then you can build run your CI/CD from.
Mm.
The other, following on from that as well, was the I think they called it Disposable Jenkins, I think it was called, or
okay. Yeah, I saw that I didn't go to that session. I saw that title though.
So the idea there is being able to run your build server itself inside of a container, but the idea is that you construct that container again from a script. So you're scripting or you're automating your automation, if you know what I mean. So the idea is if your build server dies for whatever reason, you're not going to have to go in and configure all your plugins again, or your allocate all of your permissions to your users again. You're not going to have to go through all of that pain, which can take several hours. Setting up your agents, for example, with the right build tools for the right thing. If you're building on Windows, then you need to have the Windows tools. If you're building on Linux, you need the Linux tools, and all that sort of stuff should be completely scriptable.
So not just your pipelines are code, but actually your Jenkins instances themselves are code.
Are code as well, and that's definitely definitely the way to go. There's considerations. There's a lot of things you need to sort of think about. How do you keep the history of your jobs, for example? So you might need to set up volumes, and then make your Jenkins home on that volume so that that's something that's persisted and stored somewhere else. So state is always one of these things that becomes harder to sort of shoot in the head and then just reconstruct. Those things you do need to have some kind of backup strategy for. But other things like automating your plugin installation, automating your users through some sort of LDAP store, for example, all of those sorts of things, and the definition of the jobs themselves, all of that can be scripted, which is very cool. So as I said, I tried to follow a theme for the day, which was scripting and automation, extending the scripts and automating the automation. Yeah, it was very good.
Cool. Good. Graham, what about you? What were your highlights?
I really enjoyed a session that I went to on writing your own plugin for pipeline, and that was really interesting to get a perspective from the other side of the fence, because it's quite common, I think, for a lot of people to look at building jobs using, for example, the freestyle job. And it's in a scenario where you've got quite a complex build process. You need to string together a whole bunch of these jobs and get them to trigger one another. This can become a really complicated beast to manage, and so we've known for quite some time that pipeline is a really nice way of solving this problem.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a way of looking at your entire build process in one nice, concise, like a single page. So that's the side that we're quite familiar with now. But from the point of view of actually writing a plugin, it's also interesting to discover how you're able to do certain things that aren't possible as a plugin writer for the freestyle job. Thank you. Yes, and to be able to see how these plugins are capable of a persisting state.
Because the need to restart.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So this ties in quite nicely with the ability of pipeline to, yes, indeed, as you said, just to restart when Jenkins fails. This was really cool. Also cool. And the other session that I really enjoyed was about the CloudBees 4 quadrants of DevOps maturity.
Oh yeah, the Brian
Dawson's talk. Yeah, it was one of the nicer metaphors for how we can come to grips with technology that I have encountered lately. In that, so we've got these 4 quadrants to visualize, moving from Q1 to Q4, and where Q1 represents an agile team, so it's quite small, and we're up to the stage of doing development in an agile manner, but we're not yet up to the stage of doing continuous delivery. Through to the quadrant of the Q4 quadrant, which is representing a large enterprise organization which is doing the whole shebang of continuous integration and continuous delivery.
Enterprise-wide.
Enterprise-wide, yes. Interestingly, Brian made the point that there's a strong perception that getting any sort of organization of any size through a number of barriers, cultural, technological, to be able to perform at the continuous delivery level is a process that becomes like exponentially difficult. So there is this perception, and he made the point that it doesn't have to be that way, that it can actually be a linear process if it's done in the right way. And I need to find out more about what that means.
I was going to say, did he tell us the right way? Like that's the Holy Grail, isn't it?
Well, he did refer to a number of experiences that he's had working with companies to help them along this path in his role as a consultant. And I think that implies
engagement.
Yes.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, we need to look at our organizations working with DevOps coaches to get them there. Yeah. I mean, a 40-minute conference session isn't going to solve that little gem. No, that's right.
Yeah, but that 4 quadrants model is one I want to drill into more. I think there's a white paper and there's a recorded webinar, I think, on the CloudBees website, and I misunderstood what it was, but once I actually had my mistake corrected, it looks quite interesting. It looks like a relatively lightweight model, not too onerous and not this heavyweight process that you have to go through, but quite a nice representation of where are we currently, where we want to go to, and the different potential paths you can take to get there.
Yes, well, like I say, I think it's a really useful metaphor, given the fact that there's a great deal of confusion in our industry about what DevOps actually means. There's the common description that you ask 5 different people, and you get 5 different answers. And this is really quite succinct and unworkable.
Okay, cool. I think the only other one I like, there's a bit of a theme here around plugin development, and I went, and actually you went to as well. Yes. At the end of the day, we went to the one on extending, so not writing plugins for Jenkins, but basically extending or writing plugins for Blue Ocean, the new user experience and new front end. And I found that one quite interesting at a few levels. Blue Ocean's written using React, and one of my big questions about it is how much React do I need to learn in order to extend Blue Ocean? And it seems, based on that session, actually not that much. They've defined some pretty clear and well-defined extension points, and you can hook into those, and they kind of hide the React-ness, if that's a word, from you. So just during this session, I mean, he wrote a plugin that extended a few different points, and it seemed quite the Jenkins, the Blue Ocean sort of visual style, and even the icons and those sorts of things, seemingly pretty easily.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of scope with. My impression is there's a lot of scope to take even a pipeline aware plugin and make the experience way more rich using the Blue Ocean plugin framework.
Right.
He mentioned also that they're going to be making the developer experience a lot richer as well. Providing a better development environment for devs to do this. So you can see already that there's already 1,400 odd plugins for Jenkins now, and I think we're going to find a similar kind of ecosystem for blue ocean. You can easily see that that's going to explode.
Yeah. Well, just tying it back to the first thing we talked about around the DevOptics delivery. That all was written in Blue Ocean as well.
Yes.
And one thing, I think there's an impression that Blue Ocean is just a facelift for Jenkins, and that might just be because a little bit that's kind of all we've seen so far. But certainly through today, through a few different things, I can see that it's actually quite deep, and it's quite a potentially fundamental change to the way that Jenkins represents information, and a really welcome and good change to that.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, guys?
No, I think all in all it was a very very good day, very successful day.
Very tiring day.
Very tiring day. The swag was very good.
Yes.
We all got a number of t-shirts.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a few more tomorrow. I've got to stock up.
Yes.
We should bring along our t-shirts to show off for the camera.
Yeah, we're going to model them. Yeah, that'll be one to watch. All right. Anything else?
No.
Okay. I think it's time.
Well, great day.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's day one. We'll, unless we are not incredibly more jet lagged, we'll be back with a day 2 wrap up tomorrow.
Great.
Otherwise, cheers. Thanks, guys.
Bye.